As a first-year judge, I was struck by the thoughtfulness and consideration these reporters gave to the myriad of ethical issues that came up during their reporting.
I sincerely hope that the Anthony Shadid Award for Journalism Ethics continues to encourage people to do this work with the courage and integrity that he brought, and also to recognize the very, very difficult things that journalists do every single day in trying to serve the public.
It really is a humbling experience to be part of this committee judging such amazing pieces of journalism that come from around the world and show the lengths that reporters go through and the amount of care they take in dealing with highly sensitive, complex stories that are impactful.
It was really an honor to slow down, to dig in, to identify these 5 finalists, all of whom so well represent the remarkable and lasting legacy of Anthony Shadid.
Last March, the Trump administration sent more than 230 Venezuelan men to a maximum security prison in El Salvador. The government called the men sick criminals and gang members, but refused to provide any evidence to back those claims. We obtained confidential government records, we reviewed hundreds of pages of court and police files, and we interviewed the relatives of more than 100 of the men. As we built an interactive database that featured each man's story, including their criminal history, we had to decide whether to publish everything that we found. Information on arrests was based on public records, yes, but the information was not known generally. We struggled with these questions even after our reporting found the vast majority of the men had not been convicted of any crimes in the US, and those that had were for crimes that were minor and nonviolent. The power of our reporting was in presenting the whole truth and then trusting readers to assess the records for themselves.
My story follows Thai women who came to the Republic of Georgia to work as surrogates with the promise of $16,000. But what they found there were conditions consistent with human trafficking. Their movements were controlled, their passports were confiscated, and they were confined to a network of houses run by Chinese operators. What emerged was a picture of a global fertility industry that is worth tens of billions of dollars that reconstitutes itself wherever oversight is weakest. They had no reason to talk to a journalist. They were afraid of retribution, and they had nothing to gain from speaking to me. So what I'd offer journalists from my experience is that the way that you conduct the interview matters just as much as the content of the interview itself.
The federal government launched an unprecedented immigration operation aimed at deporting as many people as possible. They called their work Operation Midway Blitz. They have the right to explain what was happening, but pretty early on it was clear that they were not being honest about a variety of different things, whether it was why they were here or when they shot someone. There were people tweeting at me that I should be murdered, and I just kept on doing the job.
Many of the immigrant families and those impacted feared retaliation, feared targeting, they feared surveillance. So when the U.S. government began to question the credibility of our work, that made us work harder, and we leaned into documentation, data, court records, memos, and eyewitness accounts to really be able to bring those stories to life and have enough information to show that we were not being biased, we were telling the truth. What I learned is that continuing to report in the face of political pressure is not activism. It is a form of accountability.
When Tufts University student Rumeysa Osterk was arrested by ICE agents on a Somerville street in March of 2025, her case immediately sent shockwaves throughout the nation. She was quickly whisked off the street, sent to a detention center in Louisiana. Neither her lawyers nor her loved ones could figure out where she was. And when the security video of the arrest was released the day after she was detained, her case became even more widely known. Rumeysa did not ask to become the face of the Trump administration's targeting of international students and immigrants. However, she was put in that position. We're aware that these communities, especially vulnerable communities, can face serious repercussions for talking publicly to the media and sharing their stories with everyone. And so we have learned from this reporting and other reporting we've done that how we communicate with the people at the center of these stories really matters.
Failed to Death is a 4-part series on California's rapidly expanding for-profit psychiatric hospitals and how state officials in the race to build more psychiatric treatment beds ignored their own state laws.
One of the biggest ethical challenges we faced was how to report on profound trauma, including sexual assault and suicide, without causing more harm. Some of the former patients we spoke to had experienced the worst moments of their lives in locked facilities. In order to give these families and former patients time and control, we, for the most part, reached out to everyone in writing first. The governor declared understaffing in psychiatric hospitals to be a public emergency, and shortly after, he signed a new law.
Perhaps our biggest takeaway from this project is that while reporting on such sensitive issues, you can still center the dignity of the patients and the people you're writing about.
I had the honor of knowing Anthony Shadid in his all too short lifetime, and it was such a privilege. He was, in addition to an incredibly talented journalist, a truly kind and funny human being. And so being part of this award and highlighting journalism in his name will always hold special meaning for me because he truly was a special person.